For those of you who don't know Forrester, Forrester is a technology research company, and I have been an analyst at Forrester for almost 20 years, working with retailers, brand manufacturers, and solutions providers in the tech ecosystem. So I'd love for the speakers today to also just quickly introduce themselves. Kaarthik, do you mind just quickly reviewing Mars and your role with generative AI these days?
Thank you, Sucharita. Hello, everyone. I'm Kaarthik. I work for Mars Incorporated as the Director of Digital Experiences Platform as part of our MGS organization. I'm responsible for digital platforms that falls under the web commerce, rapid apps, and GenAI areas, actually. Just to give a little bit overview of Mars, Mars is one of the largest private family-owned business in the world with diverse portfolio of leading pet care products, veterinary services that supports pets all around the world, and our quality snacking and food products delights millions of people every day. You may have known our well-known brands such as M&M, Snickers, Royal Canin, just to give a context in terms of the areas that we actually operate. And Ravi, do you want to introduce yourself? Sorry, you're on mute, Ravi.
My apologies. Hey, thanks, Kaarthik. I'm Ravindra. I lead a data science practice here at Tredence. We are a global data science and AI solutions company specializing in transforming data into an actionable insight across different verticals. And we partner with 9 out of 10 top retail and CPG companies to drive their business growth by leveraging data. Looking forward.
Great. Well, thank you both for joining us here today. Kaarthik, I want to start with you. When you talk about GenAI, what was the problem that you were looking to solve? What was the reason for embracing GenAI? And talk a bit about why you used a platform approach. Even, kind of some people on the call may not even know what that means. So any context you can provide.
Yeah, I think from Mars perspective, the general approach that we have actually taken towards GenAI is to actually first establish our Mars responsible AI principle, which basically empowers associates to leverage AI for growth, for innovation, and create a positive impact by maintaining a complete human oversight and accountability, and ensure that the risks are being maintained. Right? So that is the first step that we have actually created. Right? Created this responsible AI principle. And then we have actually invited our associates to start exploring the space in an experimentation way, right? And of course, governed by our responsible AI principle. And then we have actually looked at all the use cases that the associates and the teams are actually exploring in the space. We had over 100 use cases that we have implemented, leveraging multiple tools, technologies, multiple Mars partners and vendors, right? So, and when we actually looked at all the use cases or the problems that each one were actually solving, we've identified 3 major areas, right? I think I'll categorize as 3 major areas. Basically, what we have figured out is we saw that all the business use cases that each and every brand and marketing and internal teams are trying to solve, those are all fragmented. So what I mean by that is, I think they are not consolidated in a single place for everyone to actually take a look at it, learn from the experiences, and leverage the learnings that had from a specific use case implementation over to the next problem, right? And we saw that many of these use cases were duplicative, and few actually ended up in actual production, right? Many of these use cases ended up in a POC stage, and not many knows the results and outcomes of those. And within that fragmented business use case itself, we also figured out that we have worked with multiple vendors, and each actually took a completely different tangent in terms of solving the problems from a technology perspective. The tools, the practices are completely different, which actually from our perspective, which felt that we were actually solving the same problem, or a common set of problems that we need to solve are repeated even within that technology solution itself. So the use case itself is repetitive, even the technology itself is actually repetitive in some cases. And the second problem we faced was many of these use cases, I think the GenAI, from our perspective, will become success will become success for an organization because of their data, right? And we felt that many of these data, specifically Mars data and content, are spread across multiple AI platforms and tools and vendors, right? So which led to an issue from a security, risk, and accessibility standpoint. And we wanted to ensure that these data that we are actually using for these platforms are well protected and governed as well, again, in conjunction with our responsible AI principle. And then finally, we also feel that the quality of the content that gets generated sometimes are not in line with the mass content policies as well. And in some cases, because we are a large CPG organization, some of the brands requires their own tone of voice when the content gets generated. Right? So I think they were not actually being maintained, that lead to variations in quality and potential brand integrity issues. Right? So that is the problems that we have actually faced. And with the general approach of the responsible AI principle, we felt that there is a need to actually put a central platform so that we can actually harness the full potential of GenAI, where we adopted a unified multimodal platform, cross-cloud platform with a centralized operations approach, completely governed by our responsible AI principles, so that we can actually scale across our enterprise. As from my introduction, you may have seen that we have 3 different business segments and our corporate segment as well. We wanted to ensure that we actually enable a cross-business collaboration to realize a true value and consolidate all the use cases in a centralized place, so that associates can actually learn from the previous experiences, and we can actually enhance the user experiences, at the same time have a complete control over the security, infrastructure, and data, and we can actually, with that, we were able to unlock the creativity and boost productivity rates. So I think that is how we actually face the problem and has a general approach and a platform approach to solve the problems that we had. Yeah.
Great. Thank you so much, Kaarthik. Ravi, anything to add on the platform approach? It sounds like there's a lot of ability to learn best practices. There is the ability to work within a responsible AI framework that's crucial here. Can you talk a little bit about how you've seen companies decide on that approach and what it contrasts with?
Yeah, thanks, Sucharita. Just to echoing and building on top of what Kaarthik mentioned, it's super important for us as well. When we started building this platform, there were a couple of principles that we were sure that we need to be adhered to, right? For example, the RAI governance that Kaarthik talked about. When we built about our stack, we ensure that every component, as modular as possible they are, ensures that they are adhering to the best of RAI principles. Now, when I say that, sometimes the RAI becomes a bit more subjective, right? We say the model should be fair, robust, and so on, but ability to quantify is a bit missing. Hence, what we did was to ensure that we bring that quantification mechanism into the entire framework, such that we can truly measure ourselves how much governed are we with respect to responsible AI. So all in all the other topics that Kaarthik covered, I would say quantifying a responsible AI and bringing onto the platform was the other one that we are proud of.
Great. Kaarthik, can you talk a little bit about the idea of freedom within the framework? I think that is something that, kind of you alluded to, which is that the different business units, the different stakeholders have the ability to experiment, but the platform provides that framework, it sounds like, which is crucial for the guardrails. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I think first of all, this term has been coined to us by one of my senior directors who currently leads the science and diagnostic team, right? So the idea or the general sense behind that is to actually give the teams and the brands across the Mars a complete autonomy to actually innovate and experiment. Just because we are actually defining a framework, we don't want to actually stop the progress of a use case that the teams within Mars and brands would like to take forward, right? I think what we have ensured is we have actually created a clear, detailed guardrails for the governance and content policies and practices in such a way that they have every other means to actually take advantage of the framework that we've actually built and evolve further on top of it, right? So, and also what I mean by framework is, I think framework again consists of multiple capabilities that any GenAI platforms requires. From infrastructure standpoint, how are we actually leveraging infrastructure? What is the AI observability tools that we need to actually establish as part of the infrastructure? How we are going to ensure that the agentic framework and the gateway and the marketplaces are actually put together so that the teams that are going to be leveraging our tool has all the capabilities needed within a dedicated environment for them to take advantage of, so that they can have the accelerator readily built available for them to implement the problem they want to solve in a much faster manner. So that is the main purpose behind our approach to the freedom within the framework. And then second, we also know that in order for us to enable that freedom, it is actually very important that we actually open our platform by enabling software development kits, by enabling APIs, so that if the team wants to leverage the capability but build a completely different experiences, they can do so by taking advantage of the accelerators that we already have in a form of SDKs. So that is how we actually define the freedom within the framework. And within our team, I think within my team, we also have a product versus a platform mindset. So what I mean by that is, so we as a team, we actually owns the platform. So my team's primary objective is to actually build the foundational capabilities that's actually required for the business to actually take advantage of those capabilities. At the same time, actually we partner with our brands and our teams to actually build the use cases as a product, so that they have the ability to define how they want to define from a user experience standpoint, and also a channel that they want to integrate standpoint, so that they can actually take it forward. So that is how we actually define the freedom within the framework, and leveraging our platform mindset approach to actually solve the problem in the GenAI space.
Great. Okay. So I want to step back and talk a little bit about some of the specifics with regard to the tech stack. Ravi, I think that one of the questions that I often get from companies is the approach and, kind of who are all the players. Tredence is able to offer some of those services, but can you talk about the technologies and tools that underpin a good GenAI platform? What's required? What are some example, perhaps, companies that, kind of you've seen companies like Mars and others use?
Definitely. Before that, let me trace back a bit of our journey and association with Mars, right? When we started this, it was a very niche challenge that we wanted to solve. The challenge what Kaarthik mentioned, there are different segments, each one were having POCs that were built, but there were challenges to scale them to production, right? Our ability to scale this POC to production forming inside a realm of LLM ops was what we were trying to solve. But when we went across looking at this problem and then did a bit of a deep dive, we also understood it's not just about scaling. It's also about the development of the solutions where there is duplicate effort that's happening. Right? Hence, we stitched across this saying a platform that can help both dev as well as productionizing this solution is the best way to go forward. And coming directly to your question, Sucharita, I asked what are the right tools and techniques, how did we go about? We kind of evaluated close to 20 odd AI platforms at that time, and then narrowed down to 6 of them, and finally concluded on an approach of multi-cloud, with the custom components being built on it. And it was based on the maturity of the tools availability there, and also the vision that the Mars had to be future-proof, being innovative, ahead of the curve, right? And coming to the specifics there, currently the entire architecture in the back end is a microservice driven, built out of Python. The front end is React and Node.js, such that it provides a seamless user experience as well as performance. And one of the key tenets for us was also to ensure that it is more scalable and flexible enough. Hence, all of these components of the platform are modular enough, which are Dockerized and agnostic of the cloud, right? And it could also be cross-cloud developed and deployed. Currently, it has been tested on close to 100,000 concurrent requests, and it has an ability to scale horizontally as well. So some of the key components there that we brought into the platform were like an LLM marketplace. Now, the need for that was the pace at which the innovation was happening and the release of the new models, both open source, closed source, that were happening in the space. It was overwhelming for data scientists to ensure, am I getting the best of breed model? And it's not just about getting these models, it's also ensuring that these models which come into the ecosystem of Mars are vetted and they're compliant enough to be leveraged. Hence, we had a model onboarding framework through which we got best of the breed LLM models, which are both open source and closed source. And not only that, even the proprietary fine-tuned and the SLM models, what are proprietary to the Mars, were also brought in. So the LLM marketplace acted as a one-stop shop where every data scientist have an access to best of breed LLM model for building their application. On top of that, we built a LLM gateway, which is a way to optimize and route the request in an effective way such that we optimize for both the cost and the quality of the output, right? To quote an example, if an input request comes in to generate a text or an image, it automatically understands that the bifurcation of the request has to happen to the different LLMs, right? And then kind of collate this response and then provide the best output. And the function of routing is based on the type of use case, the quality of the output, and also the cost. So able to efficiently build this helped us reduce the cost as well as bring in the quality of the output much better than just calling the open source or a closed source LLMs directly via the platform. And few other components that we brought in was also on the LLM ops piece, wherein it is imperative for us to ensure that when we build this solution, it also scales. Hence, we brought in the RAI principles, which are codified and objectified, such that every action or an output that is generated goes through this process, and then it highlights whether it is adhering to the Mars process or not. And then brought in a cost optimization module, which is more towards the prompt optimizers, the meta prompts being enabled, such that the new currency that we are talking about, the token per dollar per watt, which is the kind of a, now the measure is always lower, right? And they have a maximum ROI. And on the top layer is all the SDKs that are available, which are easy plug and play, such that any custom solution that needs to come in, either it could be a RAG or a text to SQL that needs to be developed, a data scientist can stitch together all of these modular blocks and then ensure the skins are also available in the UI layer, and they can stitch together to launch it pretty quickly. So in essence, we envision ourselves that it's not just a platform that is fit for today. We are also running the race, and we want to be ensuring this, that it is also adhering to the new innovations that are coming in.
Great. Thank you for that clarification. I think that helps to shed light on some of the challenges that so many companies are facing. Kaarthik, I want to go back to your thoughts. Mars, I suspect, is a company like many large ones that has a lot of legacy systems, and there are a lot of existing, sources of where the data sits, and and software solutions throughout the company. How did you think about integrating a GenAI platform with this existing system? I think you alluded a bit to it, but it would be great to talk about any advice that you may have for companies that are grappling with kind of layering this new technology on top of existing systems.
Maybe Ravi, do you want to step in and provide a response to this, Ravi?
Okay, I can chime in here. So one of the things, few of the challenges, right, that we also encountered when we are building this entire stack, the challenge of analysis paralysis, right? Every month there are new tools, techniques that are getting released. Is that the right approach that we are taken? Is it the best of the tool that will fit our purpose? And then we kind of go to and fro for it, and which might reduce the throughput of development. Hence, one of the things that we can provide the input is ensuring the right framework of evaluation of the tool and the processes are super critical. And if you fix that well, it becomes easier to make a choice which are the right tools and techniques that we need to adopt. And second one is having a bit of a mindset of a platform approach. We do for sure know that when we start developing some of the solution topology within the GenAI, there are many commonality, right? So ability to bring those common modules and sticking together and having the platform mindset definitely helps. And then the other part I would kind of highlight is also the end business goal, right? Getting the right use cases which drives the right business impact and identifying that early such that the value of the platform is quickly realized, right? So those are the three things I would say as few of our learnings, Sucharita. Anything, Kaarthik, you wish to add?
No, I think you covered. I think from my perspective, if I would just want to build on from a data perspective, we always feel that, as I mentioned in one of the problem, is the scattered data, right? So I think the GenAI capability will become beneficial, and you will actually realize the ROI if you actually ensure that the data is actually available in the right format for you to consume, and you're able to establish that integration between multiple different systems, so that you can, when the user is actually asking a specific question, it can actually figure out where to actually pull in the data and then actually process the data and provide a response. So I think that data framework is actually very important. I think that is how we actually establish that integration between multiple different systems to enable this possibility.
Great, thank you. Let's talk a little bit about some of the metrics and outcome. And I think this is also a big question that probably a lot of the attendees have, which is, what have some of the impacts been? Are there, Kaarthik, I'll start with you, and Ravi, if you feel comfortable jumping in across the body of companies that you've worked with. What's been the measurable impact of the GenAI platform approach? And anything that you can share on that is numerical?
Yeah, I can definitely talk from a platform perspective, right? So when we actually opened the platform as an MVP to our, I think we have actually opened to about 250 associates to start with. But then what happened is the word of mouth actually kicked in, and though we have actually initially planned for about 250 associates, it quickly scaled within a matter of about 4 to 5 weeks. We've actually scaled the platform to about 750 associates, even within that MVP stage right now. And what we are seeing is a 90% retention rate of our associates within this week. So that means there is an active number of users who have been coming to the platform frequently to solve specific problems that they have actually, and leverage the tools that we have already built right from the playground that we have actually built, where associates can actually play around with multiple different models, completely governed by the policies that we have and also the brand guidelines that we have, and exploring the libraries of prompts that we've actually established, so that they can actually play around with and actually fine tune to solve a specific problem, or upload a document to actually figure out what they want to do, right? So I think we are seeing that kind of an adoption is actually driving forward. And what it's also enabling us is, because we've actually built this foundational capabilities, the specific targeted engineering use cases that we would like to solve for, we were able to solve probably 50% faster than if we would have done it probably in a standalone and approach way, right? Because now that we have the foundational capabilities been built in, it's actually very easy to actually go into a business and then actioning on those problems they have, and then bringing that problem and solving the problem using the accelerators that we've already built. So that has been evident in one of the recent problems that we have solved for our P&O as well. And then that actually enables us to ensure that the processing and the cost of the implementation is also for drastically reducing. This is not just the cost of the implementation of the specific use case, but also the overall cost of the platform because of the way we've actually done, right? I know Ravi explained about the LLM router that we've actually established, which automatically takes care of the cost optimization. So that is some of the metrics that we see that we are seeing a positive momentum at this point in time to actually move forward and actually take it forward in terms of what we have already built. Maybe Ravi, anything that you would like to add from here?
So these were a great metric, Karthik. One other thing I wish to add on top of that is the enhanced brand identity and the engagement, right? For example, a same input prompt going via the GenAI platform within the Mars versus that of an open API call, right? It has a marked difference in the quality of the output because the kind of engagement with respect to the output that we get when we have built this entire stack, which is much more tailored towards the Mars enterprise guidelines. And so the quality of the output is also much better, wherein we have seen quantitatively almost 25% more, kind of resemblance to the Mars, guidelines and the engagement that it has been driving because of the content that is being created via this platform.
Great.
Mm-hmm.
Super. And sorry, were you going to add something else, Ravi?
No, that was one.
One question, and I want to be sensitive, Karthik, because I know that you may be limited by what you can share, but I'll ask Ravi to perhaps generalize. What are some of the use cases from a business standpoint? There's obvious, kind of Karthik mentioned that there were more than 700 users in the initial MVP stage. What have you seen companies use it for? Is it primarily, to answer internal questions? Is it the advertising and marketing team that has, is testing new ways to create creative? What have you seen, or is it, the IT departments, developing their code more quickly? What are you seeing?
There are a couple of buckets where we can put across these use cases. One obviously is within the enterprise search, which has been one of the use cases that has been widely used across. For example, ability to search a given document, the information from the document, leveraging the RAG kind of a solution has been a predominant use case. The other ones are talk to data, where you have a text to SQL engine being generated such that the insights are being provided to everybody within the enterprise, right? They no need to be restricted with the capability to either use some of these advanced tools. With just a chat as an interface, they can get the right insight out of the data. And the third other bucket is on the content creation that you talked about, wherein it could be text, it could be image as an output, where the marketing team leverages it to build the solution. And also within the R&D space, right? It's not only just restricted to IT. Even in the R&D space, people are using it for quick prototyping, coming up with an analysis, and also channelizing what should be the best experiment that we need to do such that we have a faster time to market with this innovation. So broadly, these are the different areas. Karthik, you want to chime in more, particularly if anything on the more specific?
I think from a Mars end, what we are seeing is one. I think the content creation. I think within Mars, like we would actually create a lot of content, but I think creation of a content in multiple different types, all within the guardrails of how the content needs to be created is actually definitely one use case. And then second, we're also seeing that there is a lot of potential efficiencies that we could gain actually having these kind of platforms and use cases being put forth to our veterinary services as well. So where we are seeing a lot of efficiencies being enabled, and that actually saves some of the time of our veterinarians as well. That is another one that we have actually that we are actually seeing, and then basically because when you actually put these kind of tools within the enterprise level, you always need to actually make sure that the enterprise language is actually inputted into the system, so that you are not just creating a content, but creating a content in such a way that it actually understands the mass terminologies and knowledge, so that you can actually make use of it pretty much more easily. That is for the internal. And for the external, as I mentioned, we have a brand guidelines as well available. So you can actually choose a specific brand guideline and can actually create a content on their specific tone of voice. So I think all these aspects is what we are actually seeing. So in this, if you look at the commonality, we are seeing that the productivity gains is what we are mainly targeting at this point in time, where how we can actually assist our associates to be more efficient, how we can actually provide them more productive hours so that they can actually use the hours they have actually saved from here for other valuable activities within the day, or probably take a break or sip coffee, right? So that is how we are actually seeing this use cases are being evolving at this point in time. But I think once we start integrating to multiple different enterprise system, I think then the value would actually grow and outpace in terms of what we are actually expecting.
That's great. Thank you for both of you for sharing that. Kaarthik, you had mentioned the term agentic AI earlier in one of your responses. And if it's okay, I want both of you to weigh in on that. I was at the National Retail Federation, their big event last week in New York City, and I probably heard the expression agentic AI like 25 times. And I am curious because when I asked people what the definition was, different people, I asked 10 people and 10 people had 10 different definitions. So I'm curious because you're actually using it as practitioners, what does it mean to you, and how do you see it evolving? Where even before we see it evolving, like how is it being deployed now? It sounded to me that much of it is automation, and I don't know how it even fits in with GenAI, or whether it's more of an application of just more of a general use AI platform. So I don't know, Ravi, do you mind jumping in first? And then Kaarthik, I'd love to hear your thoughts too.
Yeah, no, it's an interesting area, right? And when we presented our platform, you might have seen that there was something called agent as a service as one of the modules. We also realized that making these modules independent might not make much sense, and these modules need to interact together to solve a final goal or an end business goal, right? At a very abstract level, agentic solutions are the one which are goal-driven, which have their own autonomy, which can interact with each other, and it goes further than a restricted call that we used to do it for the LLMs, right? We ask a question, there is a response provided, right? But we move a step ahead in the agentic, right? There is an ability to interact, not only in their own ecosystem, but for the external ecosystem. But the interesting piece here, Sucharita, is what's changing in the agentic world is it's trying to solve an end business goal very clearly, right? It's not an open-ended. Hence, the adoption, you'll start seeing them more because at the end, it's solving that right problem. So in a nutshell, agentic are the one which has their own capability to solve a given problem. And we have been doing that in a couple of places in a way how we have been building these agentic solutions. For example, the entire SDLC lifecycle, wherein we do have an agent called a developer agent. Then there is a QA agent to test the code that is being generated. Then there is a UI UX agent, a project manager agent who stitches all of this together to solve the problem of developing a software code in a more efficient way, how we do as a humans or a software developer in the right way, right? So I would say it's going to be there in 2025, and we would see a lot of traction coming in that way. And we have seen early success also in a couple of implementation that we are doing. Karthik, anything else that you wish to add?
No, I think I think from my perspective, the way I define, or I think the right way that people are actually defining agents is agents has an ability to exhibit advanced reasoning, right? So like how humans do, you can actually reason out what is that you are actually doing. When you have an ability to actually reason, then you can actually plan, and you can actually split the plan into executable tasks and use the tools that you have at your disposal then to actually perform the task and produce a report back to you, right? It's that ability to reason, plan, execute, and use the tool to actually create a report or execute a specific activity is what makes agent completely different from pure bots, right? I think that is how we are actually seeing, and even within the platform that we have actually established, we actually have an agentic framework built into the platform that we have actually established, right? So one of the agents we've already built is this guardrail agent, where it can automatically sense whether the content that gets created is actually in the compliance of the policies or not, in compliance of the brand voice or not, and it can automatically trigger a policy violation to the users whether they are actually in compliant or not, right? This is something that which actually acts independent of the program, and it automatically kickstarts when it actually needed, right? So that is what we are actually seeing, where we are actually starting to build these agents in a standalone way, but then use the queries as a medium to actually trigger these agents to execute some of the tasks that we want to have, like what Ravi mentioned, right? So I think that is how we think that the agentic world is going to evolve, and I think our architecture is actually well positioned to take advantage of what is going to come up, right? And on top of it, we're also seeing that the agentic system is going to evolve as well into more micro specific tasks. I think when it comes to marketing, there are multiple elements that you could actually create agents to solve a specific problem, and then you actually have customer support as well. Then when a specific query comes in from end user or end consumer, then you can actually stitch these agents or allow these agents to perform well to resolve a specific task. So I think that is how we think that the space will actually evolve in the coming days as we see. Yeah.
Okay. Karthik, just following up again, just kind of stepping back and given the chance to reflect on your experiences, what do you think are the biggest challenges that companies face when implementing a GenAI platform, and any advice to other companies who may be in this journey?
Yeah, I think for the other companies, definitely, I think Ravi can also add more input, because my experience is mostly from what we have actually implemented. But I think from our end, there were three major challenges, right? I think when we actually wanted to build the platform to solve the problems that earlier I've actually highlighted. The first problem is the governance concerns that always we will have, right? I think we have the policies, AI policies being defined, responsible AI policies being defined, that actually gives us the North Star in terms of whether to solve a problem or not and guide the business accordingly, right? I think usually the governance framework are seen as a bureaucratic thing to be put in place just to review a specific request. But I think here it is not the case, where we are actually guiding the business to take the right step, whether you want to solve the problem or not, whether there is a tangible benefits of solving the problem or not, and provide the governance, security, and compliance aspect. I think that is the first and foremost challenge I believe that everybody would have to go through, right? And then, of course, the technical expertise. You need to have a right talent within the team to help solve, set up the infrastructure, probably identify the capabilities needed to build a modularized platform that can actually deploy in a multi-cloud environment, actually, which can actually leverage multiple LLM models in a most cohesive way. We are seeing the commoditization of LLMs also happening at a faster rate. So I think the modularized platform actually helps us in terms of taking that forward, right? For that, you need the right expertise and tech talent available for us to solve. I think we luckily have that. I think that is one of the challenges that many would actually face from my perspective. And then finally, most important aspect is how well your data is ready. Because that is the first question that we ask whenever there is a use case comes in. Okay, do you have a data? What is the sample that you're actually looking to do, where we can actually get more data to actually allow the LLMs to take advantage of the data and then produce the result that you want, so that you get what you are looking at, right? Otherwise, you would always play around with the synthetic data or the knowledge of LLM to actually produce an output. I think from my perspective, these are the three big challenges other company may face from my perspective, right? Maybe Ravi, anything that you would like to add?
God, those are great points, Karthik. A couple of things that I have seen across in different enterprise. One is, when we talk about scale, we need to really think about building it for scale. For example, we have instances where a RAG module that is built on the platform can ingest 100 documents. As soon as we scale to 100,000, we have challenges. So ability to think of a scale wherein the right tools and approaches are being part of the platform is one other thing. And other part is optimizing for the cost efficiency. It can't be an afterthought. Because in the POC world, it looks all great, but as we start scaling, the number of users starts adopting, the cost starts ballooning, right? Assuming it's a closed source models that have been leveraged. So ability to think on the cost efficiency angle, bringing in those necessary elements that can reduce it is important. And also the collaboration, right? For example, we don't need to build everything from the scratch. There are a couple of very interesting tools, approach, techniques that are available from the open sources that can be leveraged easily to have a jump start. I would say these are the other three, Karthik.
Great. Thank you for that. I imagine that these are big challenges that everybody has to face. Let's talk a bit about the future, and we'll have both of you weigh in. Ravi, what do you see happening in the future? How do you see companies evolving their GenAI platforms in the years to come? And Karthik, anything that you envision as well? I want to be sensitive to what you're able to disclose or not, but kind of even just in your technical expertise. Ravi, do you want to start first?
Sure. I would say the future, at least in 2025 and later, one of the things that we have been talking about is a true multimodal LLMs. I guess that is one most of the enterprises are looking at, where it is not siloed, like a text is being processed separately, the image and the audio, but there's a clear need to have the LLM, which is truly multimodal, wherein we have an ability to ingest and then provide a superior and a rich experience to the consumer, right? That's one evolving trend I see in the GenAI platform build, are also in the LLM. The other one is adherence to the responsible AI, right? Ability to get it right, such that the trust from the business is built. And then there are so many robust tools that are coming in. So they getting incorporated every layer of the platform would be the next step that I see. And third, obviously, we talked a lot about it on the agentic front. We see that that would evolve as a part of a platform offering. The way the GenAI stack was there, we will have an agentic stack coming in, which will have an orchestrators, the planners, the task managers, such that we ensure this platform delivers the right business value.
I think Ravi answered all. Actually, just to add on, from our platform perspective, we wanted to open up our platform for our associates and our actually other partners within our Mars ecosystem to actually leverage the capabilities. So truly, from our perspective, from our platform perspective, it's the ability for our associates and vendors to actually play around with and then build capabilities on top of it is what we are actually envisioning for this year. And of course, the framework has already been chosen as the agentic framework. So I think we are confident that we will be in a position to scale that aspect as well from a service standpoint. And I think from a industry trend standpoint, I see that the concept of multi-agent orchestration across frameworks and platform is something that which will actually comes in future, because now each and every platform will have their own set of agents, their own set of frameworks. Now that you are actually in an enterprise where you need to actually connect with multiple different platforms and all has agents, so how are you going to orchestrate between the two, and how do you define your data framework is going to be the key aspect from my perspective in terms of how the trends would evolve and take it forward. Yeah. So.
Great. So what I heard is both multi-agent and multimodal. So those are some good themes to hang on to. So I think if anybody in the audience has additional questions, feel free to submit them into the chat. I believe that Liz, who introduced the session, has a few more questions that may have come in as Kaarthik and Ravi were speaking. Liz, I'll hand the virtual mic back over to you.
Great, thank you. Great conversation. Before we get to some of the audience questions, we are putting up a survey from Tredence on the screen, so please feel free to participate as we go through the Q&A portion of the event. We do have a few questions that have come in. Kaarthik, this one goes to you. Deployment of AI, or more specifically GenAI, is largely being done either on an experimental basis or within specific use cases. How would you say how deeply AI is getting ingrained in the Mars world?
I think within Mars, we have already been pioneering a lot of AI capabilities to make a better world for pets, actually. And I think there's a lot has been put out in terms of what our science and diagnostic team is already doing. So I think we are already on the forefront actually here. But when it comes to GenAI, I think the core problem they want to solve is how we can bring all these experimentations into a single place for all associates to learn and from each one's experience and discover the implementation, right? Because when we looked at or analyzed all these use cases, like 40% of the use cases are repetitive. Like I think the same problem one division, one brand is solving is what another division, another brand is actually solving in a different part of the world using a different vendors, right? So I think that is why the idea of the GenAI platforms with the core capabilities are actually are actually done. So I think that is why we are actually moving away from that standalone specific use cases. Specifically, if it is a build use cases, we are actually trying to leverage the capabilities that we have actually built to take advantage of, so that we can house everything in a single place.